paragraphs are used for you to help your reader know when something has changed. I'm going to list for you the main occasions when you would use a paragraph, i.e. the main kinds of changes that you would need to signal to your reader. Well, there's actually only one occasion when you have to start a new paragraph. The others are, if you like, optional or down to personal judgment, your preference, if you like. So I'll start with the occasion when you have to start a new paragraph. You have to start a new paragraph each time you start a sentence where a new speaker is going to speak, or there is a change of speaker from the previous speaker. So if two people are having a conversation, let's say, then each time the speaker changes, you have to start a new paragraph. That is so that it's easier for your reader to follow the conversation. If within a paragraph you had more than one person speaking, it can be confusing as to who's saying those words. So by starting a new paragraph every time there's a change of speaker, you're signaling very clearly to your reader, oh, now somebody else is speaking, and you would say who that is. Or if it's a conversation between two people, it will be obvious that every time you start a new paragraph, the other person is speaking, so it changes each time. So that's very important. So let's start with that. So one occasion for starting a new paragraph is when there's a change of speaker. So it's the sentence where you have a change of speaker should be a new paragraph. Change of. You want to signal that to your reader to make it obvious to them. So how do you indicate that it's a new paragraph? Well, there are now different schools of thought on this. Traditionally, it was that you would indent. In other words, you'd start the first word not at the beginning of the line, but maybe an inch, as it used to be, or now 2.5 centimeters-ish, in from the start of the line. That was the tradition, and I'm going to recommend that you do it that way. These days, it's explained in different ways. Some people say, when you start a new paragraph, start on a new line. I don't think that's quite good enough. A way that's better than that is to say, when you start a new paragraph, leave a blank line in between, so there's an actual physical visual gap. That's much better, that's more effective. It's not the traditional way though. So I'm going to recommend to you that when you start a new paragraph, you write the first word of the new paragraph indented by perhaps 2 to 3 centimeters. You can indent more than that if you want to, but not any less than that, because you want the indent to be obvious. So you indicate your paragraph by indenting at least 2.5 to 3 centimeters. Now, whatever amount you choose to indent, make it consistent. So don't sometimes indent that much and other times indent that much, because that spoils the appearance of your writing. So indent by a constant amount each time. One of the things that I do or recommend is that rather than taking out a ruler to measure your indent, it doesn't need to be that precise, is just put the thumb of your non-writing hand, and that gives you an even space that you can use each time to indent the same amount and roughly the right amount. So roughly the width of your thumb. So that's how you show that it is a new paragraph. So what's another occasion where you would want to start a new paragraph? Now remember what I've already said. This is the only compulsory occasion, when there's a change of speaker. The others are optional. It's a matter of style, preference, judgment. It depends how much of a change there's been, but it's up to you as the writer. So an occasion when you'd want to start a new paragraph is when there's a change of, let's say, person. So for example, supposing you wrote a paragraph about the main character of your piece of writing, your story. You've just written a paragraph. Now you're going to write about a different person, and you're going to write a few sentences about a different person. That's a change of person. You would now start a new paragraph. So your reader knows, oh, right, we're no longer talking about the main person. We're now writing about a different person. Then you'd write several sentences about the new person. Which brings me back to what is a paragraph. A paragraph is a group of related sentences. Sentences about the same person, for example, or related to a particular topic, for example. So a paragraph normally would have at least 3 sentences which are related because they're talking about, for example, the same person. You can have more than 3 sentences. You could have fewer, but normally you don't want lots and lots of paragraphs on a page if you can help it, but you want to have perhaps a couple or a handful of paragraphs. So you want to make each paragraph perhaps 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences, depending how much you have to say about that particular person or subject. So that's what a paragraph is. So you've said a few paragraphs about person A. Now you want to speak about person B, so you put that in a new paragraph. Okay. Now suppose you've gone into the following week. You're talking about events at a different time. In order not to confuse your reader, you want to signal there's a change. You know, if you were writing about last week such and such happened. Now, today, this is what's happening. So to switch from what happened last week to what's happening today, you want to signal that clearly to your reader. That we would call a change of time. Then you're going to write a few related sentences about what's happening today in this time. And then it's obvious to your reader that, oh, okay, that last paragraph was about what happened last week. All right, here's a new paragraph and it's about what's happening today. So everything in this paragraph is about what's happened today. So a change of time. I've mentioned it already in passing, but it could be that something new has happened, a new event, if you like. So it's a change of event, or I'll call it a new event. Something significant, some new thing that's happened which is significant to your story, and something that you're going to write perhaps several sentences about. So again, you're signaling to your reader that, okay, up to now, I've been writing about my journey to the destination. Now we've arrived at my destination. Now I'm going to write about how the destination appeared and how I felt about it and what happened at my destination. So you're signaling to your reader that, okay, we're no longer on the journey to, but we've arrived at the destination. So this paragraph is about the destination itself and how it was when we arrived there, or about the actual arrival, the moment of arrival at the destination. So that's a new event. So you'd write about that in a separate paragraph. So we've got a change of speaker, a change of person, a change of time, a new event, or if you like, new subject. Then there's one more common one, if you like, 5, one for each digit on your hand, and I will list that as a new place. And to sum that up or to explain that, it's like using the expression, meanwhile, back at the ranch. So in other words, you're explaining about the events that are taking place in this location, this place, and then, following on from that, you're describing about the events that are taking place in another place. So you signal that to your reader by starting a new paragraph. You are not writing about a different place, so you're going to describe in several sentences what's happening in a different location. So let's sum up paragraphs. First of all, a paragraph is a group of related sentences. Normally you'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending how much you want to say about that particular person, time, event, place at this moment. Of course, a paragraph can be just one line or one sentence, as it often will be when you're writing direct speech. But normally a paragraph would be several sentences. And you don't want to make lots and lots of short paragraphs because it doesn't look good and it probably doesn't help your reader particularly. So that's what a paragraph is. You show that you're starting a new paragraph by indenting. Indenting means that you write the first word of the paragraph not at the beginning of the line, but about an inch from the start of the line. Whatever distance you choose, and it should be around an inch, you don't want to make it sort of halfway along the line, but you don't want to make it less than that because you want to make it obvious that that is an indent and the start of a new paragraph. Make sure that you use the same indent, roughly, all the way through your writing. The occasions would be every time there's a change of speaker, the sentence containing the direct speech should be the start of a new paragraph. The others are not compulsory, they're down to your intent. It's up to your judgment, your discretion as to when they're required. But remember, to guide you in that, it's to help your reader to know that you're now talking about a different person, you're now talking about a different time, you're now talking about a new event, you're now talking about a different place. It's up to you how much or when you think you need to signal that to your reader. So the occasions are a change of person, a change of time, a change of subject or event, a new place.